The Joy Unleashed show empowers and inspires women to reclaim their joy. We provide tools, resources, and connections to help you unlock your true potential through engaging conversations, expert insights, and transformative stories. We create a vibrant and inclusive community where women can break free from the limitations that hold them back. I'm joyologist Coleen Greco, and it is my honor to be your host. Let's get right into the show. If you feel like you're stuck, if you feel like you don't quite know your purpose, or maybe you know it, but you just can't find the path toward it. If you're uncomfortable in your own skin and want to finally master self-love, then we need to talk. I'm Coleen Greco, and I'm your joyologist. I help women just like you to reclaim the joy they feel is missing in their life through mindset coaching and nutrition coaching. Whether you have weight to lose or simply need to get your gut in check, I've got you. We'll work together to retire limiting beliefs. Those are the stories that are keeping you from your purpose. I need you to hear me. Those are the stories that we need to get rid of in order to get you on your path to your purpose. We will work together to get you that life you've always dreamed of. It would be my honor to connect with you. Reach out to me via Instagram at @thecoleengreco or email Coleen@ColeenGreco.com. Let's get you back to the show. Welcome back to another episode of Joy Unleashed. I'm Coleen Greco, your humble host and resident joyologist. And today I am so excited to welcome Jenny Roberson to the show. Hey, Jenny.
Hey there.
How are you?
Good.
Good. I'm laughing as I'm sitting here in a sweatshirt. It's for those that are tuning in, it's almost June. It's probably 80 something degrees out, and I'm sitting here in a sweatshirt.
Wow.
What am I doing?
I assume your air conditioning is on.
Yeah. Well, that's another story.
Cozy.
Yeah, my husband and I aren't in like total agreement with what the temperature should be.
Yeah.
I feel like it should be over 90, and he agrees.
Oh, okay. So you guys are like the reverse of me and my husband.
Total opposites. I'm like, you know what we should do? You can retire to Colorado. I'll retire somewhere south, and we'll just FaceTime a lot. How does that work?
That's a really good idea, actually. And you might be onto something.
Is that the key to a successful marriage? You just like are never in the same place?
Less.
I love it. Well, do me a favor for those that are tuning in. Give them a sense for who you are and your background.
Yeah. So I live in the Boston or outside of Boston in a suburb with my two little girls who are 5 and 7 and a husband and a dog. And I launched frecklefaceyoga almost a year ago. This summer will be a year. Prior to my life as a mom and wife, I worked in the corporate world in marketing and event management. And after I had my first kid, who, as I said, is 7, she'll be 8 in October, I made a decision at kind of like the last moment of my maternity leave that I was not going to go back to that job. I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew I needed the income, but I also was like, I don't love what I'm doing enough to like leave my baby with someone else. Like I had no qualms about having a nanny or taking her to daycare. It was more just that I didn't want to do that if like I was going to be, I don't even know, miserable, but like unhappy every day.
Unfulfilled, maybe?
Yeah, unfulfilled. And then I'm like kind of modeling that for this new daughter. So I just kind of decided, and I'm like not really a wing it person, but I decided I was going to wing it. And I was lucky and had resource enough that like I had a great maternity leave that was paid. I had vacation time and a couple other things that fell into place. And so I was able to do that with a little bit more of a cushion than maybe, then it doesn't work that way for everyone. And I acknowledge that. So I started freelancing and doing some marketing stuff, but I had also done a yoga teacher training like leading up to my maternity leave, I practiced yoga for 15 years at that point and just kind of decided.
Welcome back to another episode of Joy Unleashed. I'm Coleen Greco, your humble host and resident joyologist. And today I am so excited to welcome Jenny Roberson to the show. Hey, Jenny.
Hey there.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. I'm laughing as I'm sitting here in a sweatshirt. It's for those that are tuning in, it's almost June. It's
Yeah.
probably 80 something degrees out, and I'm sitting here in a sweatshirt.
Well,
What am I doing?
I assume your air conditioning is on.
I yeah. Well, that's another
Pretty
story.
cozy.
Yeah, my husband and I aren't in like total agreement with what the
Oh,
temperature should be.
yeah.
I feel like it should be over 90, and he
Oh,
agrees.
okay. So you guys are like the reverse of me, me and my husband.
Total opposites. I'm like, you know what we should do? You can retire to Colorado. I'll retire somewhere south, and we'll just FaceTime a lot. How
I
does
think
that work?
that's a really good idea, actually. And you might be onto something.
Is that the key to a successful marriage? You just like are
You
never in the same
care
place?
less. Yeah.
I love it. Well, do me a favor for those that are tuning in. Give them a sense for who you are and your background.
Yeah. So I live in the Boston or outside of Boston in a suburb with my two little girls who are 5 and 7 and a husband and a dog. And I launched Freckleface Yoga almost a year ago. This summer will be a year. Prior to my life as a mom and wife, I worked in the corporate world in marketing and event management. And after I had my first kid, who, as I said, is 7, she'll be 8 in October, I made a decision at kind of like the last moment of my maternity leave that I was not going to go back to that job. I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew I needed the income, but I also was like, I don't love what I'm doing enough to like leave my baby with someone else. Like I had no qualms about having a nanny or taking her to daycare. It was more just that I didn't want to do that if like I was going to be, I don't even know, miserable, but like unhappy every day.
Unfulfilled, maybe?
Yeah, unfulfilled. And then I'm like kind of modeling that for this new daughter. So I just kind of decided, and I'm like not really a wing it person, but I decided I was going to wing it. And I was lucky and had resource enough that like I had a great maternity leave that was paid. I had vacation time. And a couple other things that fell into place. And so I was able to do that with a little bit more of a cushion than maybe, then it doesn't work that way for everyone. And I acknowledge that. So I started freelancing and doing some marketing stuff, but I had also done a yoga teacher training, like leading up to my maternity leave. I practiced yoga for 15 years at that point and just kind of decided to do this training. And I got pregnant during the training. And then I was like, wait, there's nowhere to do prenatal yoga. We were living in the city. I couldn't really find anything. So I was like, I'm going to pursue this. And I did a training soon after I had the baby, and I started teaching and just like kind of building this prenatal, postpartum like community, teaching yoga. And then I had my second daughter, and that was 2 years later. And my life like flipped upside down for many reasons. And I stopped teaching and other things came up, and then it was the pandemic and things were just different for a while. But last summer I really was like, I really want to get back into this. And it's not just about like teaching yoga. I really wanted to build this kind of like a platform, like a community really is the right word, for moms and their families. And so that's what I did or have been trying to do, using yoga as a tool to do that.
I think that is tremendous. And I really want to applaud you for even knowing that you had a choice. So, a little about me is my kids are 17 and 20,
Mhm.
and I used to have to hide the fact that I had children,
Okay.
right? Like,
I remember
imagine.
actually when you and I first connected, you saying that. Yeah.
Oh, I, I
Okay.
was like, I
Yeah.
thought that was you that said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I used to, I was in tech, and
Yep.
that was a sign of weakness. And you didn't ever
Mhm.
show anyone that there was a reason you couldn't do something.
Yeah. Yep.
Like everything is possible all at the same time. And
Yep.
if even like saying it, I'm like, wow, this sounds crazy. But people that are listening, I mean, that's how it was not too long ago.
Mhm.
And I remember eventually being able to kind of like share a little bit
Yeah.
more, just how freeing that was. And the fact that you even knew you had a choice,
Yeah.
like that everything was going to work out the way that like it was intended to work out
I don't
is,
know if I thought that at the time. I didn't
or
know.
you just trusted
But I
enough that
but
it
I
was like, this
trusted
can't
that.
be it.
Yes.
And I want to like really encourage women, like
That that's it. Yeah.
that's what this show is really about.
Yeah.
That feeling, this can't be it, is
Yes.
your intuition saying
Yeah.
this isn't it. There is more.
Yes.
I have a friend that always says this or something better, right?
Mm.
Like
Mhm.
there's more out there, which doesn't mean, you know, um, you're looking for, a fleet of Mercedes and houses on every
Right.
continent.
Yes.
It's just more for you,
Yes.
more fulfillment. So I really want to applaud you for tapping into that and running with it.
Yeah.
Um,
You.
because man, am I jealous. I mean, I caught up,
Yes, you did.
but wow, I mean, those were such hard times, and there's a lot that you end up missing out on. And so I'm really thankful, on behalf of your children, that they really got the best of you and still are getting the best of you. And what a great role model,
Mistakes.
you're being for them. Ugh, please.
Some
You
days.
you want to hear all the mistakes I've made? You
Yeah.
have a day or two
Yeah.
straight?
Right.
I mean, that's really amazing. And again, that's what this show is about, is like illustrating to women that it doesn't have to be the way it like should be. And
Yes. Yeah.
just because like, when you were growing up, your parents said, "Ooh, you know what, Jenny, I think you'd be a great doctor." And then you go and you pursue that and you're like, that's not at
Yes.
all what
Yeah.
I should be doing.
Right. 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 And I think like I've definitely discovered that more as I've like gotten a little older and, more mature, that I have grown my confidence in being able to like go against the grain or go against what maybe has been expected of me, or like mothers in general, or people who graduate from college. And I have a master's degree, and knowing that I may have done all that with one plan in mind, but then realizing that that wasn't what I was meant to stay doing. Yes, it's definitely something that's taken me some time to like figure out it's okay to get there, and it's okay to like not do the like norm, or the what's expected.
So I have this book, and oh, it's over there. I won't be disruptive and grab it, but it's called Essentialism. And I love the image. Actually, I will grab it because I can
Okay.
edit it. I'm going to tag Greg McEwen in it because he's my guy. So Essentialism. And I
Mhm.
love this cover because I feel like this is what we think our life is supposed to, over here. That's what this image on the left,
Yeah.
on the right, whatever. The neat image is how our journey is supposed to
Yeah.
go, but really our journey is this
Yes.
one, which is like the crazy
Mhm.
squiggly, and that is the crazy squiggly is
Yeah.
the reality, of how life is. And there are fits and starts
Yeah.
and false starts and redos. And so tell us a little bit about, those early days when you had that, I don't know, that message, or you had that instinct from your intuition that said, this isn't fulfilling me.
Mm.
And how you were able to be brave enough to anchor to that and say, nope, I'm gonna figure this out.
Yeah.
But it isn't this other thing.
I mean, I really think it was become excuse me, becoming a mother. And that's not to say that like becoming a parent is the time that you have to, that everyone's going to reassess their lives, or that like, oh, it just changed me so much. And, I mean, I think it did, but what it was for me in terms of becoming a mother and having a daughter, I think throughout my years in the corporate world, I would always come up against something that was like working against me. Like I didn't get that, I'd interview for a job and like go meet with 10 different people and be like the second runner up, or like couldn't quite navigate around like figuring out like where was I going to grow within the organization. Not getting the raise that I wanted, and like knowing like, okay, you have this money. I mean, this is like, pennies for the organization for like something that may have been a big deal for me. And I think having a child, it just made me think like, I don't I don't want to have I don't want to be unfulfilled and come home at the end of the day where I'm only living for this moment of coming home, and also like again showing this daughter that like you're just supposed to do what you're like supposed to do. And so
Yeah.
I do think that that was a huge change for me. And of course, parenthood is going to change all of us in a million different ways. But that feeling of like not having fulfillment in my own like personal time away from her, that didn't feel right.
Yeah. I love that. As you were, starting to
Mm.
come up for air, which is the feeling in the first several weeks when you're like, I have this baby. Now what
Mhm.
do I do?
Yeah.
And the handbooks aren't at all helpful.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm. Mhm.
what really caused you to think, yoga might be like a great place to start? I mean, you said you had that previous training. So what
Yes.
was the thing that said, ooh, I might be able to
Yeah.
bring this as to your point, in like a community like fashion
Yeah.
to moms and their families?
Yeah. Um, I mean, I think like, I didn't have this like idea for forming this like freckle face yoga, this community until last year. But what I did have years ago when I first started teaching and when I pursued like training, which was back in 2016, was I'd been practicing yoga for a long time. And one of the things that I loved about having that practice was the people, like the community that I surrounded myself with. So for me, maybe when I first early started out, it was like, how can I learn to do certain tricks, or like, how can I get better? And over time, I started to realize like that's not what it's about for me. That's not to take away anybody else's practice and what they're working on. Just for me, I felt like what I really want is to be able to like show up in a room and be surrounded by like people who are there because they love this practice in this community, and like seeing the same people every week, and oh, this person next to you knows that like that's your spot, so they kind of saved it for you. And I have like so many great relationships that I've had for long, many years with people that I used to do yoga with that I haven't seen in a long time because our lives have just gone in different directions. Um, I think again, like going through a pregnancy and then, giving birth and like being in the hospital setting, I just, even, 7.5 years ago, I was like, there just has to be more than what's out there for us. Like, I want to be cared for differently. Like I want to show up to appointments, my prenatal appointments, and feel like somebody really cares about me being here and the questions that I'm asking. That first pregnancy, like she was breech and I had a planned C-section and I was so devastated over it. And I felt like nobody really thought it was a big deal, but I thought it was a big deal because it wasn't what I wanted. But it was more than that. It was the fact that no one was validating me that like, this isn't what you wanted. That's really, really disappointing. Not like, oh, you can try again, or like, this just happens, or this is the safest thing. And I do remember, it's all about like, oh, as long as the baby's okay. And really feeling disappointed with that. That's not to take away from the fact that I did have a healthy baby. It's just that I'm like, what about me?
Yeah. I love that you just said that because so a couple things just came up for me. One is women everywhere just want to feel seen and heard. And when we don't, it is soul crushing.
Yes.
And so, and I do the same thing with my community. I really want people to feel like whatever they feel is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing that came up was you brought me back to my miscarriage. So in between my first and second child, I miscarried at 9 weeks.
Okay.
So of course, there are plenty of people with the mindset that, well, like how attached could you be? The baby was only 9 weeks old. Okay, maybe. But it wasn't until my the nurse practitioner at my obstetrician's office said, I don't know what you're so upset about. You're only X years old. You can try again and you have another at home.
Oh my God.
And I was like,
It is right? Like you're remembering that how many years later? Like,
oh, so my oldest is 20 and
yeah.
my youngest is 17. So that was so I don't know, probably 19 years. Yeah. And I can tell you like what she was wearing. By the way, the office overlooked a cemetery. Like maybe choose your settings a little bit differently, right?
Oh my God, yes.
Crazy. But I still see that woman to this day. And there is that instant, like, I want to punch you straight in the face for saying such a cold, horrible thing to me.
Yes.
But,
Yes.
but what it, like teaches you, sometimes those are life's greatest mirrors because it teaches you, like, you would never treat somebody
Yes.
like that.
Yeah.
And you just brought that back to me. So for those listening too, like, it's okay to not feel as devastated as I felt.
Yeah.
But what isn't okay is when you define the devastation for someone
Yes.
or the trauma that they're going through. Like you're saying,
Yes.
like the C-section wasn't the way that this story was supposed to play out for you. And you're completely validated and within reason to feel that way.
Yeah.
That's how you feel.
Yes.
Nobody can tell you differently.
And now I acknowledge that and I can see that. And I think it's really sad that I had to get there myself. Like, and I sought out like what I needed. I was like, I need a therapist. Like, and I had done therapy before. I need to talk to people about it or talk to my husband or whoever, but not everybody's going to do that. And I think like, especially when you end up with a healthy baby, no matter how your birth experience goes, it always comes back to, well, at least your baby's healthy. And that's really, it's devaluing the other life that's involved, right?
Absolutely. And I was having this conversation with one of my kids. He has a dream of becoming a professional wrestler.
Okay.
And people will say, well, if it doesn't work out, you could do this other thing.
Okay.
Like within the wrestling,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you could be a referee or a trainer or content person or whatever.
Yeah.
But what he hears is, I don't believe you're going to be successful.
Yeah.
So I also love to share these stories with people so that they understand, even though you might, and my nurse practitioner might have felt as though she was coming from a really like loving, supportive place. It didn't land that way.
Yes.
And that's the part that matters. And so like just understanding that your words aren't always received in the way in which
Yeah.
you intend to deliver them.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It only took me 20 years to learn that one. So, on a lighter note,
Mhm.
one of my favorite questions to ask is, how do you define joy?
Hmm.
So let's dive into that.
Good question. Such a hard answer for some reason.
It's only 3 little letters, right? Like, how
I
scary could it be?
know.
But everybody gets stumped on it like, "Ooh."
It's actually a so much to me, like finding joy is so much better than saying like I'm happy or I'm like finding happiness because like it's happiness, like you're never going to be in a state of happiness like all the time, right? But finding joy is like the moments, whether they're the big moments or small moments that make us happy, of course. Um, and I mean, I think for me, moments of joy happen definitely when I'm in like that flow state. Um, I find it a lot now when I'm teaching, whether I teach with a focus on serving moms and their families. So I do moms or yoga for moms at different stages of motherhood, prenatal, postpartum, into motherhood, um, and kids. And I hadn't the kids thing is new. Like I got certified last year. It's funny because I like thought a little bit about it when I was doing my initial training, and I had done some research on like the benefits of kids yoga and kids yoga at schools, and had like done some work on it, and then never really pursued anything. Um, not for any particular reason, but I was like, if I'm going to support moms, like I want to support their whole families. I want to bring this, this modality or this like platform to kids as well.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm an anxious person. One of my kids has a lot of inherited that from me. And I know how important it is to find, those little mindful moments. Um, and so, oh my God, I lost track of what I was saying. Obviously, you're going to cut this out. Oh, joy. Okay, thank you. So I have been finding so much joy in teaching kids yoga.
Oh,
Um,
I would imagine that has gotta be
Particularly with
a
preschool
blast.
kids, it is. And it's funny because, like, I have always loved kids. I always wanted a family. And then having kids of my own. And of course, like, it makes sense. Like, your kids are always going to be the hardest for you. But there have definitely been moments, especially with my older kid, who it can be really tough, where I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, not the mom that I thought I was going to be. Um, or I don't do things the way I thought I would. And then I get in like a room with 10 little preschoolers. I'm like, here I am. This is just don't put
Well,
back in the class.
that's gotta be underscored too, because that is a realization I had is with one of my kids, I am not the mom I want to be
Hmm.
with him, but that's not the one he needs.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
the one he needs, and,
Yes.
would I love to be the one that is, like, constantly the fun one or constantly
Hmm.
the, upbeat, you know, overly generous, give them everything
Hmm.
and make everything Instagram ready? Yes, I would love that. That is not my reality right now. That's
Yeah.
that's okay. Like, this is what
Yes.
he needs, and so to your point, you do get to interact with other
Yes.
kids and get the fulfillment in
Yes.
other ways, and that's completely okay too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that you said
And
that.
it's so, I mean, it is so fun to see like, I mean, it's just such a fun age. They're still super affectionate. They really want to like impress you and tell you all these different things. I mean, I could ask one question, then like someone telling me about their dinosaur that did like go off on a big tangent. And like parents will say to me, or other people that might see, like adults that might see like a class happening, like, oh my God, you're so patient. I'm like, I know, but if they're not my kids,
You're
you
like, "My cup is getting filled up right now.
know?
Please do not speak to me. I'm all
Yes.
about this kid." Oh, I love it.
Yes, but even after, it's like they're like amazed, and I'm like, yeah, it's so different though.
Yeah,
I am not a patient parent by any means. So it just gives you this other opportunity. But being with
yeah.
like small kids, hearing the things that they say, like watching the things that they do, There's so much joy in that. And I love that so much. But I also think like even when I'm teaching an adult class, I'm not somebody like with, some teachers like will write like a little index card with like what they're going to do. Like I'm someone who kind of like has a plan and then, will just go with the flow a little bit.
Yeah.
Literally, no pun intended. Um, but I love that feeling where I'll just catch myself and I'm like, oh, I was just in it, like so in it right there for that, those moments where you're not thinking about anything else. I'm not worrying about like, what does my body look like right now? Like, am I showing them the right way? Did I mess up? Like my left and right, it's just like, you're so in that flow state. And I have found it harder and harder to get into that state as I've gotten older. And I think part of it was because like, if you're not doing something that you love, like you're not gonna be flowing. Like
Yeah.
it takes some
Oh,
of your effort.
absolutely. Well, that kind of like gets to what you were saying in the beginning around the difference between joy and happiness. And I get this a lot from people. And I my own opinion is, happiness is, comes from like an external
Mm.
thing and it's fleeting, where
Mhm.
joy is like this inner knowing. It is like knowing in your heart that you
Yes.
are where you're supposed to be doing the thing you're supposed to be doing
Mm.
with people that you want to be doing it with, kind
Yeah.
of a thing.
Yeah.
And the other way that I've defined it, I kind of came up with this a couple of weeks ago. I don't know why it took me this long, but that happiness is when you're in your head and joy is when you're in your heart.
I love that. I love that.
And I was like, "Oh, that's so
Yeah.
smart. I should put that on a t-shirt."
Yes. Yes. No, I totally. I mean,
Yeah.
I love that so much.
Well, and thank you. And
Yeah.
it just comes from a lot of years of uh, you know, trying to spend less time in my head and more time in
Mm.
my heart and thinking about the things that truly light me up. And I always talk about when I walk my dogs, especially in the winter, because I
Mhm.
absolutely do not like the winter. Don't know
Mm.
why I live in Boston, but I'll be walking them and I can focus on the fact that I'm freezing
Mm.
and I don't want to be out there and they're sniffing everything within sight and
Yeah.
taking more than an hour to walk a mile. Like,
Yeah.
could we come on, just get going, right?
Yeah.
Or I can tap into their energy, which is like, ooh, there's a leaf. Ooh,
Yeah.
there's a snowball, right? And
Yeah.
they're so playful and frolicky.
Yeah.
To me, that's where I get joy from because I'm tapping into their
Yeah. Yeah.
energy versus my head is saying, I'm freezing, I can feel
Mm.
it in my bones, I'm hungry, I'm tired, whatever.
Yeah.
Both scenarios are true. One gets my attention. Which one is it going to be? And
Yeah. No,
so
that's
always trying to encourage people to spend way more time in your heart than in
mm.
your head. And I think probably with yoga, you're a natural at doing that because it is so heart centered.
It is. I mean, and it's one of the things I love about it because I am somebody who spends a lot of time in my head. And I know that about myself. And so yes, finding like this practice that again, for me, like it's not about tricks and it's not about like doing things a certain way or looking a certain way. Well, of course, like it's nice to think like, oh, I like felt so graceful doing this or, whatever it is. But it's more about, yeah, that heart connection.
Yeah.
And like something that stayed with me since training. I mean, I learned it in training, like the kind of background of what the word of like the root of the word yoga and how it means like to unite. And I feel like that was something that really like resonated for me because that's what I was finding through it was
Mhm.
this connection with other people and this practice that made me feel good, that like brought me joy. um and yeah,
Love it.
created community for me.
Well, I want to make sure we share your Instagram, which is
Yes, thank
at
you.
frecklefaceyoga. So this is where you can find out about all of the events that are
Yeah.
coming up and the activities. It's all through Jenny's Instagram. tell us what we'll find there. You've got some kids activities as well as some adult activities. I'd
Yeah.
love for you to share what's coming up in June and July.
Yeah. So I have a kids yoga pop-up coming up on June 8th. I'm collaborating with another mom, and where she's an Instagrammer, and we are hoping to make yoga more accessible to everybody. So I'm excited about that. We're going to donate 20% of proceeds to a local doula organization that
Ooh.
serves like the diverse communities within like this area. And then I have a monthly mom's yoga night that I've been running since January, and it's been really wonderful. It includes a little bit of like typically like some reflection time. So it's more than just like showing up for a yoga class. It's really like an opportunity to show up for yourself. You may have like a little theme or a topic. We do some yoga movement and then have time to just hang out and chill at the end. And I have two like collaborators who've helped me with that. Muscle and Flow in Milton is the gym or studio where I do a lot of my work. So they've been amazing. And then a friend of mine, Laura Springer, who's a local realtor, give her a little shout out too. She has sponsored all the like food and drinks after our yoga. So it's a nice time to like use it as an opportunity to connect, and all of that stuff and more is on my Instagram with registration links and everything.
And shout out all you like, because I'm a huge believer in that. But right there, I mean, that type of collaboration is where the universe is headed.
Yeah.
It isn't about just you anymore. It's about like, what can we do as a collective? And I know we met through Boston Businesswomen, so we will be tagging the heck out of them
For
because
sure. Yes.
that's huge. But it's like, okay, so maybe people do overlap in some areas, but we can take
Mhm.
pieces and parts of what each other do, and
Yes.
as a collective make a much greater impact. So that is what I believe, at least all the women that I've met so far in that group have been, they're kind of about the
Yes.
same thing, which is like, let's just figure out how we can raise each other up. So I love that
Absolutely.
you just,
Right. Like it's like the more we can get together and support each other, the closer we are to ruling the world.
yeah, amen, girl, amen. There is not one woman out there that I wish they would ever have to hide the fact that they had children. So little by
Yes.
little, I am trying to, change the
Absolutely.
mindset of
Yeah.
women everywhere so that, they can really feel fulfilled in anything they do, whatever choice they make.
Absolutely.
Choice being the operative word.
Absolutely. And like the more that we can share these little parts of ourselves, like with the greater, kind of like your greater community or your work community or whatever it is, as we all start doing it a little more and just start normalizing some of those things a little more, like
Yeah.
I mean, I work for myself and I work for moms and kids. It might be a little bit different, but I spent 4 years freelancing on calls for, corporate entities. And if my kid needed to come in the room and sit on my lap quietly while I was on a call, I felt like I don't need to apologize for this. Like, I'm working from home. You know that I'm here with children. I have a wonderful nanny, but my kid wanted her mom for a few minutes. And like, I'm okay with that,
Yeah.
And I think
Good.
that the more that we can like share that with what's out there, then like we can find more balance, because we should never feel bad to say like, I have to be with my family, so I'm like shutting down or going on this vacation or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I love it. Well, definitely make sure that you're following Jenny on Instagram at frecklefaceyoga. As a fellow freckle facer,
I know I
fully
do. I have
support.
2 freckle-faced kids. Both of my kids have freckles, and it's like when they started popping out, like it was like for a while, like let's count our freckles.
I know. Well, once you get to my shoulders, it's like over. It's like, let's call that one big one, right? Jenny, thank you so much for being on the show today. Any parting words before we wrap today's show up?
No, just go do some yoga. Go do
Yes.
some yoga. It's better for
Movement.
you. Like here's my parting words. Yoga is for everybody. So go do it.
I love the mic drop. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, that was our latest episode of Joy Unleashed. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. Well, that was an awesome episode with Jenny. And really, I hope you walked away inspired by the notion that, your body knows what it wants and what you are meant for. And it will send you signal after signal after signal until you pay attention. And so that's when you're able to tap into your intuition like that and do and set out to be what you're meant to do and be and who you're meant to be with, you feel different. I know when I am in complete alignment, I'm impenetrable. It's amazing. And so really encourage you today to consider spending more time in your heart versus your head. And here's a tip on how you'll know the difference. When you're in your head, there's all kinds of thought processes. There's not just one. It's like, I wonder if I did this. Well, what about that? And what if that other person? And you can feel like your brain kind of moving around. That's when you know you're in your head. When you're in your heart, it's clear. It's, I want to fill in the blank. So spend more time in your heart. It's worth it. Thank you for tuning in to Joy Unleashed. As always, it's my honor to be your host and joyologist, Coleen Greco. Follow me at the Coleen Greco on Instagram for daily motivation and inspiration. And don't forget to leave my show a review on Apple Podcasts. Until next time, sisters.